my name is Sarah. I'm a second year medical student, and today we're standing outside the MBC. And just to give you an idea of where this is, we are just down the street from the main Queen's campus, the Lanyon building, which is just down there. So today I'm going to chat to you about the teaching that you're going to get in Queen's and whereabouts you're going to be day to day. So inside the MBC is where you're going to have your lectures, seminars, dissection and clinical skills. Today we're just going to show you around and let you know where you're going to be.
Hello and welcome here today. We're in the virtual histology suite, and histology is the study of tissues and organs as they appear under the light microscope. And in keeping with the times, all of our microscope slides are scanned and then they are presented visually on a computer screen. And that just means then that we can make sure that everybody's looking at the same slide and that we can support group work for all of the students in our classes.
So at the beginning it is quite challenging. It's one of those things that you sit down and you don't really know what you're looking at, but it's amazing how fast you pick up the skills being able to identify different cells in the tissues.
We have demonstrators as well, so if you're really struggling to figure out what type of cell this is or whether it's normal or abnormal, they're there to help you out throughout. As compared to what we did back in school, it's really quite different, and there's just a step up and a level up from what you've done before, which is really quite nice and really helps you prepare yourself for the real world and your career.
We get access to amazing specimens, and the technology that we use makes sure that we can have a really in-depth look at cells underneath the microscope.
Hello, my name is Dr. Samantha Taylor and I'm an anatomist specialising in the teaching of gross anatomy. You're very welcome to our main dissecting room facility. This very room has been in existence since the late 1960s. However, it didn't always look this modern. As well as teaching our undergraduate medical students, science students, this is very much a clinical environment, and it's a very flexible teaching space. And normally when our students are in here, they will be divided across 18 groups, normally with 8 or 9 students per group. And you will see around the room there are a large number of interactive touch screens, so each group of students has full access to each of these touch screens for the duration of their class.
Not every medical school in the UK will offer cadaveric dissection, and they're so different from labeled images in textbooks. They're very quite different, and you really get to see what it looks like in real life. And some of these structures you won't see again until much later into your career if you take up a certain specialization.
Dissection is a privilege to be able to take part in. It's an extraordinary learning tool. I have found it extremely beneficial, and to be honest, I can't really imagine learning in a different way. It's very hands-on. It's exactly what you expect to be doing when you're in medical school. You're in looking at the structures of the body, seeing things that you will not get a chance to see again unless you go into very specific fields. So it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to take part in it.
Hello, I'm Sean Rowe. I'm a senior lecturer in Centre for Biomedical Sciences Education, and I'm involved in teaching medical students physiology in first and in second year. Students do a number of physiology experiments that underline to them the benefit of physiology to their medical studies and the benefit of physiology to medicine in general. So for example, we'd be doing electrocardiogram practicals or recordings from muscles, or blood analysis, or potentially exercise studies. And all of this contributes to their understanding of science, basic science, as it applies to medicine.
It's really quite fun to do it with friends. I've had this one practical where I covered one of my friends in just blankets just to see how our body heats up, and that's really quite interesting because not only are you having fun with the practical, but you're really learning as to how physiology works.
So everybody gets a chance to perform the experiments. So you can see behind me here, there's one workstation, and this would be set up with whatever apparatus we use.
I particularly enjoyed some of the experiments we did on blood. So we have the opportunity to test our own blood, and so we did things like learning our own blood types, which was really cool. It's just a bit of a step up from the experiments that you would do in school, and you have there's a lot more trust put into you to be able to do these things, and it is quite independent. You do have people there to support you through it, but it really is you working through to learn all these new skills, which is really cool.
We're formulating a new program for our medical students, and that will be the C25 program, in which we have case-based learning, and assessment will be case-based assessment as well as single best answer exams, very similar to the kind of exams you would be getting if you were doing professional exams, postgraduate exams as a doctor.
Welcome to the Clinical Skills Education Centre. It's a newly refurbished Clinical Skills Centre. Basically, it's what it says on the tin. You're learning your skills that you will use out in the clinical setting. So when you go out to placement and when you eventually become a doctor, the skills don't change, but this is where you learn them, and you learn them right from the start. It's superbly exciting. You get to see, it's essentially what you do medicine for. You want to be able to be hands-on, see what's happening, learn how to examine patients and diagnose patients, and this is where you do it. You get to use simulated patients, so essentially actors come in, and you get to talk to them, you get to examine them depending on different systems and different parts of the body that you get to examine. You'll learn to do everything right here. Being a final year now, the skills I learned here in first and second year have stood to me to this day, and they will stand to me going forward into being a doctor.
So my name is Jerry Gormley. I'm a professor in clinical skills and simulation here at Queen's University Belfast, and we're currently in the Clinical Skills Education Centre, and this is a really important environment where we allow our students to really practice some of those practical clinical skills in a very safe but guided way to help develop their skills, particularly before they go out into clinical practice. It's always busy. Students love the chance to have hands-on practice and really find that this is a really good stepping stone into their development as future doctors. We're in InterSim, which is an interprofessional simulation centre in the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Sciences. In this learning environment, we recreate learning opportunities, chances for students to develop their skills in a very immersive, progressive but safe fashion. They can develop some of the key clinical skills, procedures, so they can really try to improve their preparedness for the real working world.